How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Creative Collision Podcast. This is Saeed here, bringing you a new episode, the very first episode of 2021. Hopefully, this is a great year for everybody after a rough 2020, of course, and fresh start for all of us. So let's get into it. On this podcast, I'm gonna do a tribute to one of my favorite rappers that passed away, MF Doom. So MF Doom passed away. It looks like he passed away back on Halloween of 2020, October 31st. But his family kept it private, kept the news private until New Year's Eve. So that's when the world found out about his passing. A legendary rapper, one of the most influential rappers ever, from the underground, and just a great artist, man. Just a great rapper, and one of the most unique and original rappers ever. So he was definitely one of my favorites. So I'm gonna talk about him and the impact he had on me when it came to me making music and as a rapper as well. How he influenced me and how he influenced the rest of hip hop, and just what made him so special. So I'm gonna start with that, and then on the second part, I'm going to do a little bit of NBA talk. We're 1 week into the NBA season so far. Just keep it brief, but there's been some things that have happened already that are I'll get into regarding certain teams and how I feel so far about the NBA season. And the third, I'll have a third part where I'll briefly talk about the Dodgers as well. The Dodgers have interest in DJ LeMahieu. There's been a lot of reports about that lately, so I'm going to get into my feelings about that, and maybe even what the Padres have done and what their additions, bringing in Padres traded for Yu Darvish, a former Dodger, was coming off a great year from the Cubs, and they also traded for Blake Snell from Tampa Bay. So two aces, at least two guys that have ace potential. They're not always ace material all the time. Blake Snell came off a year where he never got pitched past 5 innings because he was coming off an injury, and then Yu Darvish is coming off a great year, but it is a small sample size, and he has some injury issues in the past as well. But both guys have been great pitchers before, so I'll talk about that and see what that means for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to counter any moves, but yeah, let's start it off. Let's get this podcast going. Like I mentioned, first podcast of the year. I'm doing a solo one. Eventually, hopefully here soon, we'll get the duo back and we'll have Will back on here. But for now, it's just me, and let's get into it. All right, so MF Doom passed away on October 31st, 2020. His wife broke the news to the world on his Instagram page on New Year's Eve. So, I'll get into his legacy and his impact and just what he meant for hip hop in a bit. But I'll start off with my initial reactions when I heard the news. When the news broke, I was actually waiting for results for a COVID test. I had to get tested because I was in contact with somebody. So results came back negative, so no need to worry there. But because I was waiting for a test, I was already kind of nervous and anxious. So then when the news broke, I'm sitting there waiting for my results, for my test results, and then I go on Twitter and I see the news that MF Doom had passed away. At first, my initial thought was, this can't be true. This could be a hoax. This could be MF Doom messing with us. Because for anybody that knows MF Doom, he's the supervillain of hip hop. His whole persona was molded over Dr. Doom, the Marvel villain, the popular Marvel character. So, MF Doom molded his whole rap persona under that as a supervillain of hip hop, and knowing him, he's known to sent imposters to his shows to perform from him. Uh, so he's widely known as that supervillain. So that's why when the news broke out at first, everybody kind of took it with a grain of salt. Everybody on Twitter was like, "Is this real? Like, this is Doom. It could be part of his supervillain plan. He just might be messing with us." But then when you saw that it was real, that his wife posted it, when you looked into it further and saw that it was posted by his wife on his Instagram page, and then you saw the date too, October 31st. It made a lot more sense, and it was real. It just made sense that it was all true, because knowing MF Doom, I was about to say Doctor Doom again, but knowing MF Doom, it just makes sense. It would be that way. It's sad that he passed away, but the way in which it happened, where he saw himself as a villain, and he passed away on Halloween, and he was known for wearing a mask everywhere he went in a year of 2020, where everybody was, had to wear masks all year, So it's such a weird thing how it worked out, and he was such a mysterious character and a mysterious person that it also made sense that he passed away on October 31st, but it wasn't, nothing ever got leaked. There was no story about this, that though nobody, looks like nobody knew, and maybe other than just, I'm sure, his family, and nobody said a thing. Not TMZ didn't get their hands on it like they always do to get their hands on things like this. And he was so secretive and mysterious that this got kept under wraps until New Year's Eve, and made total sense, that the family was going to release this when they wanted, and it was so him. It was his character. So when it hit me that it was true, I got a little emotional. To be honest, it affected me a little bit. Not only was he one of my favorite rappers ever, he played a big part of me as a rapper myself when I first started to get into rap, and used to do it for fun and make mixtapes. A lot of the first rap songs that I made were over MF Doom beats and Mad Villain beats, and I would try to kind of mimic him a little bit in his style. He was one of the guys I looked up to, one of the guys that really interested me in a way that I wanted to kind of rap like that. So that type of stuff hit me when I heard it, and it made me sad, man. It was shocking. He was only 49 years old. He was such, and I'm gonna get into his legacy now, and what he meant for hip hop. I think, other than the original founders of hip hop, the OG creators, right, like the Melly Mels and the Grandmaster Cazes of the world, because you can't be more original than the guys who literally created this shit, right? Can't be more original than them. But other than like the OG original like grandfathers of hip hop, I think MF Doom was the most original rapper since them, since those guys. Everything about him was unique, stood out, was creative. Nobody sounded like him when he came out. The whole persona, wearing the mask, and the villain persona, that was such a original idea in hip hop. His production style, which is underrated, by the way, he gets a lot of credit as a great rapper, and rightfully so, but he was also a great producer, and a great beat maker as well. But it just everything about him just screamed creativity, and he just, expressed all types of originality, from the way he rapped, his voice, the way he flowed, um, his persona, everything about him was so creative and original. And I think he is one of the most influential rappers because of that reason. When he passed away, you saw on Twitter, how many people really were affected by him, and how many people were influenced by him. Because you saw from underground rappers to mainstream rappers, everybody sent their condolences, and people were in shock and were so sad. And he really was your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He he didn't. You don't have to. He was an underground rapper. You don't have to be a mainstream rapper to have impact, and that's what MF Doom really showed. You see so many people that sound like him nowadays, that I have, that mimic his flow, his rap style. You hear it in a lot of these rappers nowadays. So he was definitely one of the most important rappers, I think, in history. One of the most influential rappers ever, for sure. And what made him so great was he could do it all. First of all, his voice is one of the most iconic voices in hip hop. Nobody sounded like him. He had that voice that just stood out. He flowed like nobody else. He was one of the first dudes that really can string together these multi-syllable and rhyme patterns in a way that just stood out. And the way he can put words together was so ahead of his time and so unique. He was a great storyteller. He was funny. He was a total package as an MC. He just one of the greatest rappers, one of the greatest lyricists of all time. And his impact will be felt for a long time. There's a lot of rappers nowadays that people wouldn't know were influenced by MF Doom. That's for sure. And for any people that are listening to this that want to get into MF Doom that didn't really know about him, I'll recommend some albums to get into. Of course, Mad Villain. That's the most iconic hip hop album, underground hip hop album of all time. Probably the greatest underground indie hip hop album of all time. And then and that's with Madlib, of course. So, as well. So, definitely listen to Mad Villain. Listen to Food. That's how the pronunciation is. So it's Food. That came out the same year. And yeah, there's tons of projects. He has so many albums under different personas too, which another thing that was so dope about him. He just had all these different personalities to him. So he had the MF Doom personality, but he also had the Victor Von Villain, and then he had then he would go by King Ghidorah. So he had so many different styles and personalities to him, and just start there. Start with those two albums, and then I will go to Operation Doomsday, and that's his debut album, and just go from there. He at first, if you've never heard MF Doom and you play one of his songs, at first you're probably going to be a little probably, I don't know what the word is. You might take a minute to get used to him because nobody sounds like this guy. But once you get used to him, he's so great that you'll be blown away. So R.I.P. to the legend MF Doom, one of my favorite rappers of all time, in my top 5 most favorite rappers, for sure. Played a big part on me as a rapper growing up, and was one of the most influential and greatest rappers ever. There's not many people that at his height, at his peak, were better than MF Doom, and that's underground, mainstream, doesn't matter, commercial or not. Like at his best, there really wasn't many people on his level. There's this great video too of Mos Def, who is another one of the most respected and greatest like rappers ever, and he's geeking out about how good MF Doom is. There's this YouTube video, it's about 10 minutes long. It's just Mos Def reciting Doom lyrics, and he's just so blown away by how great he is, and that's how you know how great he was. When other great rappers are just blown away by you, that's when you know like you really were something special. So yeah, R.I.P. Daniel Dumile. One thing I want to mention too about his career, one of the greatest comeback stories of anybody in hip hop as well. He came up as Zev Love X with the group KMD with his brother Sub Rock, and his brother ended up dying in a car accident, I believe. And the same week his brother died, he got dropped from his label, and then it was disappeared. We might have never heard from him again. He went into hiatus. All of a sudden, comes back several years later, and he's wearing the mask, and he's he just comes back with a whole new style, and just has his whole second career where he built his legacy and became one of the greatest rappers ever. So that goes to show too, the comeback story that he had too is pretty amazing. Something you can make a movie about. So again, R.I.P. Daniel Dumile, MF Doom, and your legacy will live long forever. So let's move it on to the next topic here, and let's keep it going. All right, next thing I'm getting to now is basketball and baseball. I'll start off with NBA talk. So far, it's been weird. It's been a weird season so far. We're only a weekend, but you already feel the difference in this year compared to other years, of course, with COVID and the way the schedule is. A lot of like 2-game series where they're limiting the travel, so you have the same teams playing each other back-to-back games. So you kind of get more of a feel for matchups that way. And of course, no fans. Or some arenas are allowing some fans, but what you're seeing so far is just so many blowouts. It's crazy. So like if it feels like every game there's a blowout right now. There's not really any close games. There's already like record-setting blowouts going on. The Clippers had a game against the Mavericks where they were down 50 at halftime. There's been plenty of other games where the teams are down 30, 40 points already, and it just that has to be. I mean, I don't think that's gonna last all season. I think a lot of that is rust. Some of these players haven't played in almost a whole calendar year. So it's like for the teams that didn't get invited to the NBA bubble for the playoffs, those teams went over 300 days without playing. Like Steph Curry and the Warriors went over 300 days without playing the game, and Steph Curry's out to a slow start shooting the ball. So there's a lot of rust there for sure. There's also a lot of chemistry issues because we had a quick off season, so there was no training camp. There was only a couple preseason games. So for free agency for players that got signed by new teams, got traded, they didn't have the training camp and preseason to work on chemistry wise. So that's another reason I think you're seeing a lot of blowouts. So over time, I think you'll see things start to get back to normal. It's just been really weird so far, but for the most part, we still know who the teams to beat are. We know the Lakers. Doesn't matter what they do in the regular season, they're going to be there come playoff time. The Clippers still have their issues. They're definitely more focused, I think, so far as taking the regular season more serious. I don't think you're going to see the load management things. Like Kawhi's not going to load manage as much as I don't believe. I think he's going to take the season more serious. But they still have their issues. In the East, I like Brooklyn, but I think they're a little overhyped right now. People are on them. They're like only 3-3 or something like that. So they, the good news is Kevin Durant looks amazing. He looks like he never got hurt. That's the good news. But there's some chemistry stuff there, for sure. Losing Dinwiddie was big. That was a big blow to their finals chances. And they have problems on defense for sure. So we'll see. I'm not sold completely on the Nets yet. I think, they were my prediction to get to the finals. And I still think they can. Even without Dinwiddie though, it's going to be a lot tougher. And they look good. They look amazing on offense, but defensively they got some issues they need to work on. Good thing is there's a lot of time to figure that out. The Celtics, I think, took a step back. They didn't really. I don't see how they got any better from last year. I do think the Bucks will be better, but we'll see. It's still going to be up to Giannis in the end if he can get them to the finals. If it's still the same old stuff, you try the same old things, then they're going to lose again. So we'll see. But I think the East is a lot more wide open than the West is. I think it's the Lakers and everybody else in the West, and so far so good. So just want to talk about some of the things going on and all the blowouts and things like that. But as things start to settle down and get back to normal, that we'll see the good teams start to rise to the top. So that's what I just want to touch on my thoughts so far on the NBA season. And then with baseball, with MLB, we're in the off season right now. We're in the winter meetings just passed, and the Padres are out here making moves. They're going. I'll give them credit for trying to go after the Dodgers, and they're not rolling over. They're doing everything they can, to dethrone the Dodgers of that. Not only the World Series, of course, now that the Dodgers are the champs, but just to win a division, you got to start with that first, right? So, they're going after it. They traded for Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. They're getting a lot of love right now. I mean, I see all the publications predicting they're going to have the best starting rotation, and I'm not sold on that yet. I still think the Dodgers have a better starting rotation. Both Snell and Darvish are talented. Don't get me wrong; they're both great talents, but they also are not always the most consistent. Snell, obviously, we all know how good Snell can be. We saw him in the World Series dominate Game 6, and it's still, one of the most controversial decisions. Got pulled out of Game 6 too early, and the Dodgers couldn't touch him in Game 6 of the World Series. And as soon as they took him out, it was over. Still a decision that just doesn't make no sense to this day for Tampa Bay. But still, that was, he was great in the World Series, but he didn't have a special regular season. He was still coming off an injury. He hasn't pitched 6 innings in 2 seasons. So to think that he's just gonna be back to the Cy Young award-winning Blake Snell, that he was a couple of years ago, and just assume he's going to be that guy again. I think we have to see it first, So, and same thing with Darvish, where Darvish has some injury concerns in the past. He obviously was a former Dodger. He was great this last season, and when Darvish is great, he's one of the best in the league. But he's not always the most consistent. And there's a small sample size last season, so we'll see. I think they can be possibly the best rotation if everybody's who they are, but just to automatically assume that Snell and Darvish are going to be great, I'm not sold on that yet. So we'll see what happens. So I think I still like the Dodgers rotation more. I think the Dodgers rotation is a little bit more stable as far as where you're going to expect more. There's still some young guys there that need to take a step forward for them to be the best rotation in baseball, like Dustin May and Gosselin. But Kershaw is still going to be Kershaw. As long as Kershaw's still at least close to what he usually is, they're still going to be there. Bueller is an ace. David Price might come back next year. Don't forget about that. Julio Urias, they're elite. So the Padres, I still think, they're better, but I don't think they're the favorites in the National League. They still have holes too. Their bullpen is still suspect. I don't think their bullpen's that reliable still. So they still got some holes. They're just adding starting pitching. They're adding big names, but I don't know if they've really addressed all the other issues they've had. So we'll see. It'll be exciting, that's for sure. And on the Dodgers end of things, there's a lot of reports that they're interested in DJ LeMahieu, which I think would be a great signing. One of the best second basemen in the league, and if Turner doesn't come back, you need another right-handed bat. I think that's the one thing that Dodgers can use in their lineup. Their lineup's lethal. It's from top to bottom. There's no holes in their lineup, but if they can get another right-handed bat, that would be great, because the one thing the Dodgers lineup lacks is that's why Snell had such a good World Series against them, because left-handed pitching can get the Dodgers in trouble. They have a lot of left-handed hitters, and the right-handed hitters, even Mookie, who is a great hitter, struggles against lefties for whatever reason. Hopefully he can figure that out next year, but he couldn't hit lefties. He couldn't touch Snell, and other than Mookie, the other right-handed bat was Turner and Will Smith. So if they don't get Turner back, they need another right-handed bat in there that can hold it down for them. And just imagine a lineup, top of the order of Mookie, LeMahieu, and Seager, with Bellinger, and that's such a lethal lineup. I would love to see it. As long as the contract's right. I don't ever see Andrew Friedman doing the wrong thing when kind of overpaying or signing a very bad contract, especially because LeMahieu's a little bit older, but he'd be a great signing for sure. Trevor Bauer is also still out there. I'd rather have LeMahieu than Bauer. I think LeMahieu would be a little bit more affordable, a little bit cheaper to get. Bauer is looking for a huge contract. He's looking for a long-term deal, and I don't think the Dodgers want to give him that. So I'll be pretty shocked if they're able to get Bauer. LeMahieu seems like a much more of a possibility. Either way, even the Dodgers don't do nothing, they're still the best team. They're still going to be the favorites going into next season. So I just can't wait for the next season to start. So we'll see what happens. And that's about it. I just want to touch on those topics. A couple NBA and MLB talk as well. But the main thing was, MF Doom passing away, and just representing what he meant for me and for hip hop, and talking about that. He's as one of the legendary rappers in hip hop history. So giving him a tribute. So I'll leave it at that. First podcast of the year in the books. Gonna start getting more out there for you guys. The last couple months of last year were pretty slow. I was getting new equipment, getting new setup process. Hopefully this year we'll have a lot more guests for you guys, and we'll get back on track. So I thank you guys for listening. Have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.